I believe, since I was here on a cold Tuesday night at just gone 8 o'clock in the evening, and I'd achieved something quite ridiculous, silly. I took a whole number of those things, the wonderful trains that we operate on the commuter rail. I started in Forge Park, down near Franklin, and I finished up here at Wachusett. There was a few more people getting off that night than there were right now, but I didn't expect anyone to be travelling into Wachusett first thing on a Wednesday afternoon at the start of March. But hey, I am. So let me reminisce a little more about that fabled trip. And I'll give you a guided tour of the station while I'm here too. Means a lot to me, this station. Maybe not many people, but it really does to me. So there might be some of you who already know why I might be here at Wachusett. Not just because it's one of my home stations, I'll come to that shortly. But this time last year, 1 year ago to the day, on March 1st, 2022, I completed a challenge that I'd set myself to visit all 132 commuter rail stations that were open at the time in order to try and set a Guinness World Record. This station, Wachusett, was station 132 of 132, and at 8 minutes past 8 in the evening on March 1st, 2022, I set foot on the station here and completed the challenge, having started the previous day, sorry, not the following day, that doesn't work like that, at Forge Park 495. So I wanted to come back here today, and given that I wasn't able to spend a great deal of time here at the station that evening because A, I was understandably exhausted after 2.5 hours sleep that night, and having been on trains for literally the entire time before that, or around stations, or waiting for trains, waiting at stations, just basically being in and around the network non-stop for a 38-hour period, near enough. I wanted to come back here and appreciate the station where I want to say put my name in the record books, but if you were to go on my channel and look at the video I shot at Foxborough Station back in the summer, I offer an explanation there as to why it wasn't a Guinness World Record. But all the same, it is the kind of thing that people do still speak about in my network of friends, my network of colleagues in the commuter rail, and it's something that will live with me for the rest of my life. And I do plan on doing things like this again in the future, but not quite yet. It's I've had enough trains for one journey, or X amount of journeys, however many it was. I can't remember exactly how many trains I took between the 2 days, but it was a silly number. But yeah, this is Wachusett Station, and I want to go give you a little guided tour of it. So, go on, come join me. So firstly about this station, something that even I fell foul of. Given that I live in Fitchburg as well, this is wholly embarrassing. West Fitchburg. That signage is on more than just one of these signs at this station. And I always wondered why that was there. Because I always thought that this station, despite the name, was actually in the town of Westminster. And it's not. If you look at the town boundaries between Westminster and the city boundary of Fitchburg, you'll see that actually by about 200 yards, this station is in Fitchburg. And therefore, by definition, Fitchburg has 2 stations. Which makes it all the more fitting, obviously, that Fitchburg and Wachusett were the final 2 stations that I took on that all lines challenge that I did. But this is officially Fitchburg's second station. And I feel incredibly silly for not knowing that. But anyway, this station was opened in September 2016, and it was the conclusion of a long process to try and expand service out west of Fitchburg. And understandably, there was a lot of discussion as to exactly where that was going to take place. There were stations formerly around here, and Westminster itself, despite my previous comment, did have its own station back in the day. But there is a town about 10 miles west of here, for those, particularly those watching in Britain who may not know the geography of where I live that well. There is a town, a city actually, I think it is a city by definition, called Gardner. And the population of Gardner is somewhere like 12,000, 13,000 I think. It's not a small place by any means. But it's somewhere that certainly back in the day, to quote the phrase, you wouldn't really be expected to commute into Boston, or anywhere else for that matter, from somewhere so far out in the centre of Massachusetts. So restoring service to that station in the commuting age, shall we say, was not really deemed that feasible. This, however, Wachusett at West Fitchburg, see again the wording there, I'll never live that down myself. Wachusett, to cut a very long story short, was deemed to be the best middle ground for everything, where the funding would be best spent. And so in 2016 service began here, and indeed service then began west of Fitchburg for the first time in many years. I don't know the exact figure myself, but it was a long time since service continued back out that way. There's another town about the same kind of size as Gardner called Athol, but that is about 20 miles further out than even Gardner. So that also was not really deemed to be a suitable place for commuters. Despite the fact that what I'm used to in the UK, granted we have much higher speed lines, that you could comfortably live about 100 miles out from London and get there in commutable time. Ultimately, that's what I'd love to see for here, but this is what we have for the time being, and this is what I love, what I've grown to love, and this station especially for its own reasons. Let's go and see some more. One quick thing before I get more into the nitty-gritty of this station. You'll see here, and pretty much everywhere around you, that we have had, most seasonably for New England, snow quite recently. And I must commend those who are responsible for looking after the station here, because as you can probably hear in my footsteps, it's very crunchy. There is plenty of grit, plenty of salt down on the platform, and when you've got a platform this big, which is precisely what I'm going to go and measure in a moment, you want to make sure this is nice and safe. And I can confidently say it is. And now without further ado, like I say, I'm going to measure the length of the platform just for your curiosity. This is how far it stretches out there. This is how far it stretches out back there. So if you fancy a guess, now's your time. How long do you think this is? Let's get measuring. I'll let you know in a moment. $296. Did you get that? Because if you did, that was a real good guess. A really good guess. Now I'm going to head up here and, in my best Jeff Marshall style, showcase what this station has to offer. I kind of do it in the style of his least used station videos, and take it from me, this is by far one of the least used stations on the network, but maybe not the busiest. But you'll see in a moment in the parking lot, yep, that we actually have quite a gem of a station on our hands here. So here's the first one. I was going to highlight the parking first, but his usual question of does it have a ticket machine is the same kind of question I can answer for pretty much most stations on the network. No, but parking you can. And this is standard both at here and at Fitchburg Station. This actually is all in with the Wachusett Regional Transit Authority, and I think North Leominster Station may have one of those as well. But it's routine here not to buy your ticket at the station unless it's at one of the major ones, that being North Station, South Station, Back Bay, unless you pre-purchase on the M-Ticket app or pay on board with the conductor. But those kind of machines you will see for parking, a lot more commonly parking than you will actually your ticket to travel on the train. So, in answer to does it have a ticket machine, on a technicality, yes, but not with what you think. And next, parking. Categorically, yes, because funnily enough, there's cars around. But it specifies on the MBTA website there are 8 accessible spaces, and per chance, I'm right by them now. So 369 spaces in total across this parking, and it's very well spread out. There's a lot here, and it stretches all the way down past there as well. And as you can see, it's pretty well used, honestly. And to say this is far out, quite some way far out from the downtown Fitchburg area where Fitchburg Station is based, and also to say that we are, like I said earlier, barely in Fitchburg, this is quite a nice sized parking lot. And the parking really does sprawl out all the way. I'm going to try and head along here as well to illustrate a little bit more of the parking available. But it's a big lot. It is a really, really big lot. And I know that that's a sign that the station isn't quite as well used as people perhaps had hoped when it first opened 6.5 years ago. But on the flip side, silver lining and everything, room for growth. This is an excellent and well located station right off of Route 2. And you'll see there are actually people who like to put their cars out here, perhaps away from the rabble. And even here, it's pretty close to the station itself, so you can't knock it. And I'm seeing a good number of both Massachusetts and New Hampshire plates over here, so it shows you that there are people coming in from the border towns in this kind of area near Fitchburg, near Fitchburg, such as like Rindge and Jaffrey, maybe even Keene, those kind of places in New Hampshire that don't have a rail service and would like to travel on the MBTA's Commuter Rail in order to do so. And this being their local station for it. And now, bus connections. I'm gonna go sit down right there. Hi everyone. Comfy now. Sort of killing 2 birds with 1 stone with this question. Do we have buses? Yes, we do. I don't think this is one of Jeff's normal questions, because bus travel obviously is a lot more prominent in the UK than it is here. But this is a very nice covered shelter with plenty of benches, plenty of seating, and in case you weren't sure where you were, that's the reason I pointed at this sign a few seconds ago. Just a generic sign that says buses, and honestly that's fine with me. But where do those buses go? And there's 2 main places where the buses go from Wachusett Station. One of them is year-round, one of them is seasonal. Haven't quite made it in time today to catch any of them coming in, but we have a service that goes out to Gardner that brings in commuters in the morning and goes back out in the evening. And also this time of year with the snow, plenty of snow, melting a little bit though, so that tells you the season's kind of ending. We have a ski range not too far from here, and the ski range offers a bus service that connects people directly from this station right here to the range that generically back out on the road. I'm not actually sure geographically where it is from exactly where I'm standing, but we have a good few people who, particularly on the weekend, come in by train from Boston and elsewhere across the network, come all the way out to this line, end of the line, Wachusett, get on a bus here, and then go skiing for the day. And then there is a return train that gets them back into Boston or wherever they're going, and all in a day's skiing at our local ski range. And a real one at that, because we're very close to the mountains here. Look it up yourself, Wachusett Mountain Ski Range, I think it is. So yeah, if you ever come visit me and you like your skiing, I recommend this area. Next, bikes. And I didn't have to travel far for it. Yes, bikes. Singular bike today, but a total of, what we got? 7 racks there, 7 on each, yeah. 14 dedicated rack spaces for people who wish to cycle here and take the train in. So, this is a very well connected station, all things considered. It really is. You can come here by bus, you can cycle here, copious parking, great length of platform. Can't knock it. Really, really like this station, and I feel like I should have been here before I was, just because I live so close to it. I'm pretty much equidistant, I would say, from Fitchburg Station and North Leominster Station, but this really isn't far at all either. It's the next nearest, naturally. And it's excellent. I would love to see more people coming in on the Fitchburg line on any given day. I'd love for people in nearby towns like Ashburnham, Gardner, Athol. I mean, even Greenfield. Greenfield has its own station that connects down towards Springfield and Hartford. A line going all the way up through Vermont, all the way up to St Albans, near the Quebec border. But even people from Greenfield, if you want to get to Boston, come here. It's Wachusett Station. A great station. Down on the platform again, a little bit more, a little bit more. A couple of other things that Jeff normally tries to point out on his videos. Oh, I don't know if you heard that. It's a very faint thing. There's a speaker right up top there, center of shot right now. So we do have, as per usual question, do we have dot matrix signage? Yes, we do. We also have a little automated speaker system up there, but it's quite quiet. It did say welcome to Wachusett Station if you didn't hear it, so I'm thinking thank you, that's nice. But that's not the main event. We do have dot matrix signage. We do have it updated accordingly for when trains come in, and I do recall it being correct when I was waiting at Fitchburg Station saying Wachusett train is approaching, and it was correct when I came in. Not that I filmed it, but I can assure you it was. The only other thing that would normally be catered for, I think, is help points. Now that's something actually, I don't know if people in the UK really know this, but on the MBTA Commuter Rail network at least, help points are not really a thing in the same way that they are in the UK. They don't exist, and if you want help with your journey, then directly contacting the customer service department, either through social media or phone call or otherwise, is the best way that you can get travel advice and delay notification. You can sign up to T-alerts on your phone. That's applicable for all methods of transport with the MBTA. So it's what I used to do with the commuter rail myself before I moved into my current role, and you can set it up for any given train or trains, any given line. If you have a journey that you regularly take or a line that you regularly travel on, then you can set those alerts up yourself and get delay alerts for any train that is affected that you have specified. And therefore, that probably explains the negation of help points. Also had to skip forward a little bit to one other little crazy tidbit from the past. Look at this. Now, actually, before I show you this properly, we're quite some way down on the platform, so I can understand why this one has been forgotten about. But this is a schedule from back in January 2021, over 2 years ago. And this particularly is what caught my eye, because if you're local around here, you will recall, if you're a train traveller yourself, that there was a period of time after the pandemic began that we ceased weekend operation on this and a number of other lines. And this schedule is a far cry from the ones that we are now operating once again, in what is a more regional rail style than it was before, back in the commuter days of lots of trains in the mornings, lots of trains in the evening to get you home, and not a huge amount in between. We now have a very nicely spread out service on this line, and I would say all other lines, to get you where you need to go when you need to get there. And I will look back at these schedules for as long as I'm in this company, probably as long as I live, and I just marvel at where we've come. I marvel at where we were in equal measure. That's just crazy now to think that that's the kind of service we operated because of how many passengers we understandably lost. And it wasn't just this rail network, it wasn't just this country, as we know, it was all over the world. That patronage on trains went absolutely through the floor. I'm happy to say that's a thing of the past now, and I've seen plenty of train, and the hustle and bustle of North Station and South Station in particular, they are well and truly back. But that timetable, wow, that's all I can say. Wow. We're in 2023 now. We're good. We're back. Tucked in the corner. That's my episode of Voice on the Rails here at Wachusett Station all done. So thank you for joining me once again, and I will see you on the rails very soon. Take care for now.
Nobody's upstairs.